lies that we hear quite often from the evil one is that you are not, then you fill in the blank, enough for God to love you or to accept you. You are not, fill in the blank, you are not pure enough. You're not clean enough. You're not smart enough. You don't obey God enough. Fill in the blank. You are not, fill in the blank, enough for God to love you or to accept you. And that, my friends, is a lie. It's a lie from the pit of hell, as I like to say. It is the biggest lie that the devil squeezes in there and takes away your joy or your desire to get close to him. Don't buy it. He is faithful. He is faithful. So today we're going to talk about faithfulness. Faithfulness. And we are using Psalm 22. Psalm 22 is one of those psalms, then after you read it, your mind just gets blown out of just because it's all about crucifixion. It's all about what the Lord endured. So, and you think, how in the world did that happen? Because this psalm, this song, the lyrics of this song was done so many years before Jesus even was on this earth as a baby, as a human being. So what I suggest is, if you wouldn't mind turning to Psalm 22, we've been getting into it. Last week, we actually talked about loneliness. If you ever have felt the sting of loneliness, this message is for you. Now, I'm not going to repeat it. It's on our YouTube channel, so go on the YouTube channel and just subscribe to our Agape channel. You'll find it there, hopefully. Let me look at my tech team. Hey, tech team, is that sermon from last week uploaded on YouTube channel? Tonight will be. All right, pressure on the tech team. Okay, the tech team said. All right, so loneliness message was last week. It will be uploaded. And after the message of loneliness, after this cry of loneliness of David, the Psalm of David here, we get to verse 3. And I'm going to read 3, 4, and 5. Listen to what verse 3 says. You are enthroned as the Holy One. You are the one Israel praises. And you, our ancestors, put their trust. They trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried out and were saved. In you they trusted and were not put to shame. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at this text, these 3 tiny little verses. And then what we're going to do, after we understand the text, we're going to understand, well, how does that apply to us? And then after that, we're going to get into what can you do about it, right? Some actions, practical actions. So here's the first thing that we got to look at. When you start looking at this text, the first thing in verse 3 just hits you right between the eyes is eternal stability. Eternal stability. There's one universal constant, and God is on the throne. God is on the throne as the Holy One, as the most unique one. He is the Most High God. He is the one that has no other in compare to Him. He is the uncreated one. So when you think of all the powers of the universe, when you think of I love superheroes, and I think the kids by now, they know that I love superheroes, and I'm a nerd, and I watch all this Marvel and DC and all that kind of stuff, right? But imagine these demigods with all sorts of powers. They are small gods, but above them all, there's one that is the Most High God. And he is the one enthroned, in the psalm says. So if you ever start thinking and looking at this world and the chaos that it is, and if you ever start thinking and seeing the chaos that's being done by some of these invisible forces, there's one thing to know. Eternal stability exists. Eternal stability is there, and it's there for us to grasp. And not only that, but as the psalm goes on in verse 4, we see that this eternal God is actually worthy of trust. So it's not just, okay, is this God a capricious God? Is this God that is out there with a button that says, I'm just going to wait for you to do something wrong, and when after you do something wrong, I'm just going to go boing, and you're going to get zapped? No, that's not what he does. That's not what he does. See, he is worth trusting. This is worth trusting. All right, imagine you walk in a large city. Let's pick who we're going to pick today. We're going to pick on New York. Okay, we're going to pick on New York. So you're walking in New York, right in Manhattan, and you are seeing in the darkness of the dark days, you see a shadowy figure coming to you and say, "Hey, I got a Rolex for you to buy." Are you going to trust them? Kids, the answer is no. They're not worth trusting. All right, here's another one. It's almost, winter is almost over. We're getting 40s, right? And I know a few days back there was ice on the lake. You going to trust the ice? No? Why not? You sure? Well, how are you going to know if you don't step onto it and test it out? It's a little too late then, huh? What if you say, "Oh, but I really want to believe"? I love my favorite Hollywood thing. All you have to do is believe, right? What if you really, really believe hard enough that ice is going to hold you up? Would you drive your truck on it? Probably not, right? But see, the God of the universe is worth trusting. You can actually trust him because he delivers. He delivers on his promises. And then when we talk about God delivering on his promises, some people go, "Well, okay, I prayed about this, and I prayed about that, and I prayed about this, and God didn't deliver." He didn't deliver. Hey, God, come on, deliver. Who's the boss? Who's the boss? See, God does deliver. He is worth trusting, and he delivers in such a way that all the threads of the cosmic universe fit together. They fit together. And the nation of Israel was the nation that God selected of all the other nations. By the way, all the other nations, they were governed by these lesser gods. If you don't believe me, read their mythology, right? Yeah, they were governed by all these lesser gods, these fake gods, these imposter gods. The New Testament actually calls them demons. Actual demons? I mean, read mythology, read what happens all over other nations and what they used to believe or they believed in. And by the way, the word demon, okay, here, little tangent, all right, little tangent. The word demon used to mean just spirit, good or bad. But over time, the word changed to mean only the bad. I can get into all sorts of nerdy stuff about what this word means and how it moved from this to that. But, catch me afterwards. Buy me coffee and I'll tell you all the nerdy stuff you need to know. But when we talk about God selecting the nation out of all the other nations, see, all the other nations had all these gods, and the nation of Israel was not even born yet. But then one day God said, "Look, I am going to put my Spirit, my promises into this nation, and I am going to make several promises to them, and you all watch. As the course of history, my promises will come to pass. And that's what happens. That's what happened. The Israel nation became a vivid example for everybody else. And the nation says, look, everything that we've been through, everything we've been through, in spite of all that, he is worth trusting. He's worth trusting. And then the song continues in verse 5, and it says that when they cried out, they were saved. Let me tell you, there are plenty of times when they needed to cry out. See, because if they were the example for all the other nations, well, let me tell you that they were not the best example. Actually, let me rephrase that. They were just a horrible example. They were a horrible example. And God said, no, don't do it this way. So he applied a correction. It's like somebody learning to play baseball. They're ready to bat, and they just swing that out there, put a little ball on a tee, swing out there, and then the coach says, okay, hang on, let me correct you. Let me show you how to do it. And they might hold the bat this way. They might, hang on to the kid's elbow and this, like, oh, but it's uncomfortable. That's okay, try it anyway. So over time, the nation of Israel got corrected a lot. And those corrections were not always pleasant. But they needed the correction, and the God of the universe say, look, trust my promises. Look, my promise to you is that if you align with me, I don't care what happens around you. If you align with me, you will always be within my protection. Doesn't mean that the storm around you is not going to come and affect you. But in the middle of the storm, in the middle of the hurt, in the middle of all the things, you will be with me, and all the powers of the universe cannot harm you. You might sting of the wind around you. You might feel the pain of the hail that bombards you. But at the end of the day, at the end of the age, you are protected. You are mine. All you have to do is come with me. Align with me. Align your life to where I'm going. And if you do that, no matter what happens, you'll be protected. Yeah. Eternal stability. Eternal stability. See, and then the song ends with trust again. After they cried out and talk about, God delivered them, talks about trust one more time. They trusted and were not put to shame. The word shame here is all in regards to you trusting the wrong person. So if you were to, remember the charlatan that I told you about? Hey, you want to buy a Rolex? Yeah. If you trust that person, you're going to end up with a fake, and who knows what you're in, right? You'll be like, ooh, that's the shame. If you trust the wrong power in the universe, one day you will be put to shame. One day you'll realize, what have I done? I've trusted myself into a charlatan, into a liar. By the way, the demons and the devil is known as the father of lies. He will lie to you. Remember? You're not enough. You have to do this. Oh, you want to go to church? Well, do you know what kind of person you are to come to church? Are you sure? You're going to be there with all these holy people that love Jesus, and you have all these questions, and you don't belong there. Lies. Oh, you want to go to church? Fine, go to church. But you know what? In order for you to go to church, you actually have to clean up your life first. Clean up your mess, and then go to church. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, clean up the mess first. I mean, how can you go to God, all filthy and everything? lies. The Most High God is worth trusting. And if you trust Him, you will not be put to shame. That's what the text says. That's what it is. Now, given the fact that this song is probably almost 3,000, many hundreds of years old. It's not a latest hit from, I don't know, Brianna or whoever. It's not the latest hit. So given that, how do we apply it to today? How do we take this and say, hey, I get this in the 21st century, this is what it means. This is how it can actually impact your heart, your mind, and what you do. All right, here's the first one. The first one, you already know about this by now, because I've mentioned it. And the fact that the world changes. The world changes, but God does not. Empires come and go. Trends, fashions come and go. If you don't believe me, look at the 70s. Yeah, bell bottoms. Woo. I understand they're back. Is that true? But they're not called bell bottoms. They're called something else. Something fancy. Flare something or other. Whatever. Okay, so everything changes. Political systems changes. Well, I used to like the old guy, but now the new guy I hate. Oh, I used to like, the old guy was an idiot. Now I like the new guy now. Like, everything changes. I looked in the mirror the other day and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, who's the old guy? I'm like, oh my gosh. And it made it even worse because, the computer sends me these little updates of, oh, remember 15 years ago, the kids were little and you were young. And so I'm looking at all these vacation pictures and I'm like, where'd it go? I mean, boom. By the way, young people, listen, don't blink. Don't blink. It's going to go like that. If you think, oh man, I'm going to have all this time. Mark my words. Mark this old man right here. It's like that. Quick. It goes. Everything changes. And because everything changes, we could feel like we are standing on quicksand. Have you ever done quicksand? No, good. It's scary. Have you seen videos of quicksand? You know what the trick is? You try to not sink. And don't do quicksand because you go, whee, done. Okay? Don't do that. But here's what happens. In quicksand, everything moves. And what you think you ought to do in quicksand to get out is actually the opposite. Because the more you fight it, the more you go down. And this world changes. And the more you try to fight this world, the more the world will win. The world changes. There's one thing that is solid, and that is the Most High God, His Royal Majesty. The Most High God who sent His Son, Jesus, technically is Jesus of Nazareth, and if you really want to be technical, it's His Royal Majesty, Jesus of Nazareth. That cosmic constant is available to us. And not only that, He is for us. This is critical. Not only there is this eternal, universal, stable, Most High God that does not change. Not only that, but listen to my words. Listen to what I'm telling you. This being is for us. What this means is that He wants the best for us. It means that He wants the best for you. He wants the best for you. He wants the best for you. He wants the best for me and you and you and you. He is for us. He's not sitting there with a big smite button. And that is critical. That's what we take away today. Here's another thing that you can take away. Trust remains the core issue. Trust remains the core issue. When it's all said and done, here's the question. Do you really trust Him? Do you really trust Him? Or do you have a sneaking suspicion that he's going to turn things on you somehow, some way, that he's going to do certain things, and all of a sudden things just, boom, go bad? And then you say, well, wait a minute. I'm afraid of what's God's going to do. I know it's for my own good, but I'm so afraid of what he's going to do to me to learn whatever lesson. Do you really trust him? Because that is still the question. That thing on the inside that goes, oh man, God is amazing, but what if I give him my all? What if I give him and I put everything on his side? How will I? What if I take, car? What if I take my car and I say, Lord, you can have my car? What if it breaks? What if he says, give it away? Oh, I'm going to have to ride my bike. Okay, well, how about this? Let's up the ante. Take the wallet. Take the bank account and say, Lord, this is now yours. Isn't that scary? It's got to be scary, right? He's like, how am I going to pay for stuff? If I give it to him, oh my gosh, what if he asks me to... Okay, and I'm afraid to really, really devote my life to him, because if I put myself in his hands, what if he asks me to be like a missionary or a pastor? God forbid. I mean, no. What if you take your kids and you say, Lord, here's my kids. That was the hardest thing ever for me and for my wife. Say, Lord, here are my kids. Grow them up. I trust you with my kids. That's hard. I trust you with my career. I trust you with everything there is around me. The question still remains. It's a question of trust. And when it's all said and done, we are wrestling with this question of trust because the evil one works overtime to sow little doubts in your head. The evil one works overtime to say, but what if he does? Look what happened to so-and-so. I mean, look what happened to Job in the Bible. Oh my gosh. Are you sure you can trust him? What if the same thing happens to you that happened to Job? He lost his house, he lost his family, he lost all his wealth. His wife remained, and his helpful friends remained. But what if? And the evil one comes there and says, maybe the Most High God is not quite as faithful as you think he is. I mean, look throughout history. Look at all the martyrs. Look in recent history. Look at all the martyrs. Look what's happening in India right now. Village comes around you, says, we know you're a Christian. Come on out of the house. You need to leave. They're waiting there with big old sticks. And doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, child, they wait there, big old sticks. And after they've done a few sticks, they burn the house down. You know we're a Christian. What if that happens here in our good old United States? Are you sure he's worth trusting? That's what the devil comes and whispers and puts things in your ear, and they go, oh, well, let's make sure that we don't let that happen. Let's go kill all the other people that want to make that happen. Okay, that's the Christian thing to do. Wow. Bottom line for today, we are wrestling with the issue of trust. Yes, there is a stable, cosmic, universal force, and is more than a force. It is the Most High God who is for you, but yet we are still wrestling with the issue of trust. And we got to wrestle with that. That's for today. And let me tell you, it is a daily wrestling. Will you trust the Lord today? Will you trust Him every day? Or will you say, well, Lord, I know better. Let me handle this one. Oh, clearly, Lord, that's not how to handle this one. Let me handle this one. And we begin to fight with the Lord instead of aligning ourselves to Him. All right, here's the other thing that's critical that we can take today, and it's right out here from the text. It's all about salvation. Salvation is on the line. The Most High God is for you. The issue of trust is still on the table, and salvation is on the line. It is critical. This is life and death, and my friends, make no mistake. You are in the position where you are facing these life and death decisions, and the question is, where will you put your faith? Will you be faithful? Well, I don't know about you, but with me, I'm having a hard time putting all my trust in my own faithfulness. I can't. Because if I put my trust in me being faithful, I'm toast. I'm done. Remember, He accepts you. He is for you. Wrestle with the trust. But when it comes down to salvation and faithfulness, it's about His faithfulness, not yours or mine. I've done this image before, and it's the image of a little child trying to jump over a puddle or jump over a ditch. And parent says, okay, grab onto my hand. Okay, ready? Let's jump. Who's holding whose hand? Is it really up to the little kid to go, oh yeah, I'm going to hang on for dear life to my parent because it's all up to me? No. Guess whose grip is even stronger than the child's? Guess whose grip will not let go of that child? And you're going to go, whee! And the kid is going to go, wow, I'm so strong. I hang on to my mom and dad's hand. I'm so strong. Well, yeah, you are. But it's His stronghold that is faithfulness. Does that mean that we don't have to be faithful? Well, no, you hang on to dear life. But it's really not up to you. You know what we call that? Grace. Grace. And grace is sufficient because He's got you. All right, so what do we do? What can we do? Here's some simple rules. The first, not rules, but actions. The first action is acquire perspective. You got to acquire the perspective. Our eyes, and we are conditioned by the culture to look at the changing stuff around us. And the perspective we need to acquire is we need to look beyond the changes around us, and we need to look at the one who has remained the same, the one who will not move. Heavens and earth will pass away. He will not. His words will not. So we got to acquire perspective. The moment you look around and you say, oh my gosh, everything is changing, we are doomed. Listen, I lived under communism for quite a few years. It's possible to be a Christian under communism. Do you know that? Yeah. Listen, in Jerusalem, the Church of Jerusalem was growing, thousands of people in ancient times, right? And then all of a sudden, persecution came. Poof, they're all over the place. We call that a missionary force. It wasn't pleasant, but the word got spread. Acquire perspective. Acquire perspective. If you don't know where to get it, come back here and say, Pastor, how do I do it? Friends, somebody help me acquire the perspective. Seek for it. Acquire perspective. Here's the second thing. Rest in the evidence. Key word, rest. There's plenty of evidence around. Plenty of evidence around. But you need to rest in it. What do I mean by that? Well, the whole idea is after you have the mountain of evidence and after you take all your doubts and everything and all your questions, it's the image of handing it over. Do you guys know anybody that's like deathly afraid of flying? Yeah, some of you? Yeah? Well, I don't like flying. I'm not deathly afraid of it. I just don't like it. And I'm not worried about the plane falling or whatever, but there's some individuals that are deathly afraid to get onto a plane. So when it's all said and done, you can examine all the evidence, but after you examine all the evidence, there comes a point that says, well, I'm going to hand it over. So you hand over to the Most High God. What are you handing over? You are handing over the burden of doubt. Whenever you have doubt about the Most High God, it's almost like carrying a big old sack of potatoes. And this big old sack of potatoes gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And what happens at one point, it's either going to crush you, so doubt will crush you, or you hand over that doubt to the Most High God. You deal with it. Lord, you deal with this doubt. So you acquire perspective and then you rest in the evidence. Will that chair hold me? I don't know. I mean, I know Bonnie was sitting there and it held Bonnie, but I'm heavier than Bonnie. More steak. Will that chair hold me? And you'll be like, all the kids like, Pastor, go sit down. Of course it's going to hold you. I don't know. What if that chair had a little break in it? What if there's a break in it? If I sit on it, I'm going to fall down. What if that chair, maybe Bonnie was faking it. Maybe Bonnie wasn't really sitting in it. She was just going like this, playing her little mandolin. Maybe she's faking it. Isn't that silly, what I'm doing? People do that with God all the time. People do that with Christianity all the time. Why the double standard? Rest in the evidence. Rest in the evidence. All right, so fire perspective, rest in the evidence, and then the last thing, let Him. Let Him. Let Him vindicate. Let Him vindicate. The song here talks about that the fact that they cried out, and when they cried out, they were saved. And God vindicated them. So let God vindicate. Let Him handle it. Let Him handle all the wrong things that were done to you. Let Him handle all the things, the wrong things that you've done to others. Let Him vindicate. Let Him be the one to say, come. Come to me. Come and follow me. Come follow me and do the kinds of things that I'm going to show you to do. And then when we align with Him, we'll be protected. Let Him vindicate. Don't worry about the wrongs that were done to you. Because I'm sure there are many. Let Him handle it. It's another way of handing it over. Lord, I'm handing all this over to you. I'm handing over my doubts. I'm handing over all that is precious to me. And I'm handing over everything that I am and who I am. And when we do that, it's the equivalent of coming alongside of the Lord. We often pray, Lord, come alongside me. Come bless my plans. I'm like, no. Do it the other way. Do it the other way. Say, God, Lord, I'm going to come alongside you. I'm going to align with your plans. See, we're not the one where God comes and follows us and blesses us because we're so cool. And we're not the one that he's going to come and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna, where are you going? Yeah, that's great. Come here. I'll come bless you. He is not our little genie. It's the other way around. Where we are his servants and say, well, where are you going, Lord? I'm going over here. But it's dangerous over there, Lord. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm going there anyway. But Lord, I don't like going over there. I'm like, yeah, I know. Just come along. Come along. But Lord, do you understand? Do you have any idea who these people are? Yeah, I do. I love them too. But Lord, these are horrible people. These are horrible people. They've done this and they've done that, and they don't love you. Well, you didn't love me when I started loving you first. Let him vindicate. Let him vindicate you. Let him vindicate others. The devil will continue to yell at you. You are not, fill in the blank, enough. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. Whatever it is. You're not enough. And you know the secret? The devil's right. He's actually telling you a truth. You're not enough. You're not smart enough. You're not clean enough. You're not obedient enough. You're not. But you know what he does? He inserts the lie after the truth. This is the truth. We are not enough. I am not clean enough. I am not obedient enough. I am not righteous enough. I am not holy enough, which is true. But then he adds the lie. You're not enough for him to love you. Whoa, wait a minute. I'm not enough. And because I'm not enough, he loves me. I'm not enough. I can never be enough. That's why he is more than sufficient. I'm not enough. I can never be enough because I change all the time. I switch sides. I do all sorts of silliness. But he is not. He is the constant. I'm not enough. But by the grace of God, he is. And because he is enough, he loves me even when? We love babies, right? We love the little kid, right? It's great. I mean, kids are awesome. Well, realize that they cry, they eat, they poop. Let me ask you this. In spite of that, your kid? Yeah, right? Some parents will go, I don't know. Like, I know you love them. So you love your kid in spite of that. Let me ask you this. If they were 32 years old and they were still doing that, yeah, you got some problems, right? There's no growth. So if we have problems with 32-year-old kids that cry, eat, all right, you know the third one. You're waiting to see if I'm going to say it, aren't you? Yeah. Okay? If the 32-year-old does the same thing that a baby does, you say, wait, there's something wrong. Our Heavenly Father says the same thing about us. He says, I love you just the way you are. But I love you just the way you are. And because I love you, I don't want you to stay the way you are. He says, I love you just the way you are, but I don't want you to stay the way you are. Can you imagine an eternity of being the way you are right now? An eternity of being the way you are right now. An eternity of a mind that's always like this. An eternity of a mind that sometimes is prone to depression. An eternity of a mind who's always not enough. And the God of the universe says, no, I want so much more for you. I love you enough that I love you with all your faults, with all your baggage. Give them to me because I want to transform you. I want you to become this amazing, beautiful being that I have intended to put in alongside me. I want to, at some point, do a study on a little bit on the Garden of Eden and what creation was like. And I'm done. I'm about to start another sermon, so I better stop talking because listen, it blows your mind when you read the text and you begin to understand. Wait, what are you saying? And Revelation brings back and it talks about clothed in light. Like, wait, what? Mind has not boggled what he has in store for us. And that's what I'm saying. He's faithful and trustworthy. Come alongside. Come alongside him. And he'll handle the rest. Let me pray with you, and then I'm going to invite Dan to come up here and tell us a little bit about what's happening in the church in the next few weeks. Let me pray with you. Heavenly Father, Lord, what an amazing grace. What an amazing thing, the fact that you love us just the way we are. That while we are not enough, we are enough that you can shower us with your love and with your grace. Lord, I pray that we would get perspective. I pray that we would be able to see and hang on to the fact that you are the King of the universe who does not change. And then you allow us to be part of your world. And we can trust you. Help us to rest in the evidence of your grace. And Lord, as we do that, help us to align with you. Help us to make salvation a priority, and help us to make growth in you a priority. I pray all this in Christ's name. Amen.